Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tandaan Niyo Yan YouTube channel. This afternoon, we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, the law on obligation and contracts. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, obligations and contracts. Before we proceed in this topic, I'm going to discuss with you the introduction to law. Okay, because this is your first law subject. Okay, we start with the general nature of law. Now, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, law is promulgated by a competent authority. No, it is just and obligatory. No, it is a rule of conduct for the common observance and benefit. Now, class, a law is said to be a rule of conduct because it provides for what? Uniformity of action. No, uniformity of action. No, it is a rule of conduct because it provides for certain acts which must be performed, and it prohibits certain actions which is not allowed by law. It is said to be obligatory because the non-observance of a law will have to be met with penalties, no, civil or criminal. Now, the objective of the law is that it is for the common observance and benefit. It is for the benefit of what? The general public. Now, another important provision or feature of law is that it is promulgated by the competent authority. When you say promulgated by competent authority, law is made known. No, law is made known by the government. Now, we have three branches of government, and under our system of government, it is the legislative department which promulgates or enacts or makes what? Law. Okay. There are several divisions of law in the strict legal sense. Number one is state law. State law is enforced by what? The government, no? Which can be general or specific. When you say general, it is mass obligatory. When you say specific, it pertains to a particular situation. Divine law, no, is about religion and faith. And moral law is what the moral law tells you what is right and what is wrong. Now, natural law pertains to justice, fairness, and righteousness, while physical law pertains to regularity and physics. Okay. Now, you will see in your screens the different distinctions between or among divine law, natural law, moral law, physical law, and state law. Divine law is coming from God, and it is while natural law is the source of natural law is the divine inspiration of man, while moral law is the norms of right conduct. Physical law is sourced from the science, and state law from municipal law or international law. It can also be civil law or criminal law. Okay? Now, the sanction and the binding force. Now, class, everyone is presumed to know the law. No, in fact, in our civil code, we have a provision there that ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. In other words, class, there is a conclusive presumption that all persons know the law and that the absence of knowledge of the law does not excuse a person from his violation or transgression of the law. So it is not allowed that a person to allege that he is not aware of what the law is. So in fact, class, even if you are not aware of a particular law, as long as that law has been published or promulgated, it will have to be binding, no? Or it will take effect as a matter of course. Okay. Now, I want you to be familiar with the organization of courts in the Philippines. We have special courts, which handles specific cases only delegated by law. For example, the Anti-Graft Court, no, the Sandigan Bayan. We have the Court of Tax Appeals, and then we have the regular courts down from the Municipal Trial Court or Municipal Circuit Trial Court or the Metropolitan Trial Court or the Municipal Trial Court in the cities. These are the lowest level court, no? And the second from the lowest is the Regional Trial Court or the RTC. And then when you go up, you go to the Court of Appeals, and the highest court in the Philippines is the Supreme Court. I just want you to be familiar with the construction or the hierarchy of the courts. Okay. Now, we have several sources of law. We have the Constitution. The Constitution is said to be the supreme and fundamental law of the land. When you say supreme, it is the highest of all law. It is supreme in the sense that in case that a law will not be in accordance with the Constitution, between the law or a Republic Act and the Constitution will always prevail. That is what you mean by the Constitution being the supreme law of the land. As a matter of fact, in case a law will violate a provision or a fundamental principle in the Constitution, that law becomes an unconstitutional law, which means that it is void. It creates no right, it affords no protection, or creates no duty. Now, the Constitution is also the fundamental law of the land. When you say fundamental, all laws are created pursuant to the principle enshrined in the 1987 Philippine Constitution. Now, another source of law is legislation. These are pieces of laws which are passed by Congress. Now, in Congress, we have two houses, the upper house and the lower house, or the House of Representatives and the Senate, no? Which is composed of the senators. Okay. Under Article 6 of the Constitution, the legislative powers or the power to make laws is enacted in Congress, which is composed of two houses, the Senate or the upper house and the House of Representatives or what we call the lower chamber. Aside from legislation, we have here administrative regulations and rulings. Now, these are issued by administrative officials, for example, by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. No, whatever circulars, the BIR or the DTI, Department of Trade and Industry, will have to issue some regulations in the form of administrative regulations and rulings. Aside from that, also class judicial decisions. When you say judicial decisions, this pertains to what? The Supreme Court. The decisions of the Supreme Court in the cases which is brought before the highest court of the land. If you file a petition in the Supreme Court, whatever decision that the Supreme Court will have to make will form part of the law of the land. Whatever principle enunciated in that case before the Supreme Court will have to form part of the law of the land. Now, another source of law is custom, the habits and practices which has ripened into the level of a law. And other sources. Now, we have other sources, for example, opinion of well-qualified or highly regarded experts, no, in the field of the law, no, is also what? A secondary source of the law. Okay? We have classification of law, substantive and adjective. When you say substantive law, It creates, defines, and regulates rights and duties. It creates duties. Nagbibigay ng karapatan. In other words, class, it gives you a privilege to perform a particular act. When a law creates a right or it imposes duty, that you call that law as a substantive law. Okay? Now, adjective law is what? The manner by which right may be enforced. Adjective law is also called as remedial law. When you say remedial law, this is the procedure by which rights can be enforced. As to subject matter, it can be public or private. A public law governs the relationship between the government and its people, while a private law governs the relationship between or among private individuals. Okay, this ends introduction to law. In the next episode, we are going to proceed with Article 1156 of the Civil Code, the law on obligation and contracts. Thank you and see you on the next episode.